Hi everybody, if you don't know me already, my name's Mike Welsh. I'm the principal here at East Riding College. I've been here since January 2018, so well into my 4th year now. A brief bit about what I do, because I'm sure there's much more interesting things we're going to talk about in a minute. But basically, I lead the college on a day-to-day basis, and since our merger with Tech Partnership last August, I represent East Riding College on the Tech Partnership Executive Management Team. I lead the senior management team here, and basically the buck stops with me. Everything that happens at East Riding College, I'm accountable for in some way, shape or form. I very much lead from the front, so I like rolling my sleeves up, getting stuck in and helping people. I'm very much a people person. So I've really found doing this role the way I want to do it a major challenge through the pandemic and 3 lockdowns. But we'll come on to that no doubt later on. But yeah, so teaching and learning, quality, student progress, learner services, safeguarding, E&D, finance, business planning, curriculum innovation, bidding, estates, facilities, MIS, health and safety, the whole remit of everything that happens at the college at some point I get involved in. My background briefly, because learners will have seen this in other films and podcasts, Jodie, but I'm a musician by trade. I wasn't born in this part of the world. I was born in Cambridge. Yeah. But I went to university in this part of the world, so I kind of know Yorkshire and East Yorkshire quite well. And when the job came up, I kind of thought, well, yeah, I liked it up there. And I had some very close friends that work up here, knew the college by reputation, which was excellent. So I was working in London at the time. Again, we might touch on that as well. So it was a really good opportunity. So I decided to, stick an application in, and lo and behold, for that was nearly 5 years ago. Nearly 5 years ago. Here I am. So very briefly, that's me, my role, and we'll come back to some of those themes I know later on.
Yes, so, and thank you for that. And obviously, so this week we are going to be talking about mental health and sort of just a general chat about how, you have sort of found mental health has progressed throughout the years, and just a general discussion in regards to it. And it's really it's great that you were willing to be a guest on the podcast, because this is sort of a way now that is very prevalent at the minute in regards to a lot of young people listen to podcasts and and get involved. So I thought, well, let's give it a go and see where we are. And here we are 12 weeks on, so it's working really well, I hope. So so it's great for the students to just sort of see a different side to you. And obviously a lot of the students will have seen you down in the refectories, and you are very hands-on, which is great. So yes, so mental health is so much more talked about now than it was even 10 years ago when I was at college age. So did you sort of know about mental health when you was at a college age? Was it talked about? How was it when you was at sort of college age?
So when I was at school, it wasn't really talked about. If mental health was referred to ever, it was pull your socks up.
Yeah.
Or you're letting people down. Mm-hmm. Or pull yourself together. And those were common phrases which were often used in a very well-meaning way, but no one really said to you, how are you feeling? It was like, things aren't right, you need to change. There was very little support for young people back then.
So do you feel differently in regards to sort of mental health now than you did sort of then to now? Do you feel different?
Yeah, 40 something years later, yes. In many ways, FE and the better universities that were what I would call more inclusive universities led the way with actually saying, we can do so more for young people here. And it came back to really the turning point for me was when I was trained in my PGC in Manchester, when I worked in some really deprived communities. And I always wanted to work in deprived communities, and I kind of get why now, but I didn't really at the time. Because I really wanted to make a difference, and kind of it didn't make sense to me to give effort and time and my career to kids that were going to succeed without me. I wanted to work with young people, particularly that might not have made as much progress if they hadn't encountered me and the people I was working with and the way we were working with them. But it wasn't a light bulb moment. It just kind of happened. it's completely transformed, and rightly so. But there is still so much more we need to do, particularly on the back of the pandemic.
Yes, well, that leads me very well on to the next question, which is so COVID-19 obviously has affected everybody in some way, whether it's affected, you personally, or you will know somebody that it has affected. So do you feel like the effects of COVID-19 in regards to young people sort of being taken out of education and having to do that from home, not having that social side of it, is going to have a massive effect on young people's mental health?
I hope not, but I don't think we're really going to know, if I'm honest, for a decade or so, what the impact's going to be. We're planning that there will be an impact, so our actions and our decisions are based on the fact that we need to do more to help. Just take the pandemic outside it, as I've already said, we probably needed to do more anyway.
Yeah.
As a sector, as a college, yes, and we were very much, I think, doing a lot and doing a really good job. However, the pandemic has given us a different lens to look through, and it very much is kind of the hot topic at the moment. So there's a lot of research going on. There's a lot of people looking at it. SAGE, the scientific advisory group that the government uses to advise on the pandemic, are looking at it. But yeah, I think it will have a long and lasting effect. I don't think we should underplay it, but neither, if we don't need to, should we make too much of it and kind of make people feel as though they're not following a fashionable trend, or is it that phrase, on trend? I'm not really up with the terminology these days.
Absolutely. No, I really
shouldn't draw the attention to it and make people feel they've got to have issues just because everybody else is having issues. So it's being really savvy and targeting that support in the right way, on the right people, but it's got to be person-centered. It's got to be personalised. It ain't absolutely not a one-size-fits-all solution.
No, and exactly, and like you say, in regards to like what we did as sort of as a college in regards to the pandemic, I do think we tackled it really well, because we offered those that needed that extra support the support, but we also didn't, like you say, make it so that it was, well, the only way that you can all sort of get this support from us or come and speak to us is if you feel that you need support in regards to your mental health. There was things there for people that, because some people will have really liked working from home. We know that, especially when it first started. Obviously then we didn't know that it was going to go on for like a year, but some people will have really enjoyed that, especially people that are very introvert, don't really enjoy going out and socializing with other people. And there's all these memes all on Facebook about the people that now I don't have to think of an excuse as to why I can't go see my friends, because the COVID's just decided that for me, and it's fine. So it is just about, like you said, not one size fits all, and that's why obviously I wanted to do these podcasts to get that message out there, that we understand that you can come and talk to us if you're having a really great day, but also come and speak to us if you're having a really bad day, and we're here for both of those scenarios, really. So my next question is, what advice would you give to your younger self about sort of in regards to your mental health, knowing what you know now?
I think the things I would say to myself now, knowing what I know and what's happened over the course of the last, let's call it 40 years, is, try and work out who to trust and why. Is one thing, because I think I made some bad decisions and got influenced by the wrong people too often, and that took a while to learn. Being too concerned with what other people thought, not feeling confident enough, or I'd say be more confident about being you and standing up for what you would believe in. It until I was really forced to. I didn't defend what I needed to defend, and I didn't defend other people. But when I did, loyalty and trust and respect were kind of my key values. So I'd say that. I'd say, as well as work out who to listen to, I would say to myself, actually follow what they've told you. A lot of people spent a lot of time trying to help me, and it wasn't until 10, 20 years maybe later that I realized just how much they were trying to do. Those are kind of the key things. And the other thing I'd say probably is really acknowledge who you are. Recognize that you are this kind of complex balance of introvert and extrovert, and don't be introverted because you think you're an introvert, or extroverted, but be who you are.
Absolutely, that was fabulous. I love that. So what do you think stops people from talking openly about mental health? Do you have any sort of reason? Do you think there's a reason why people don't do that, or?
I've got my own theories. Yes, Jodie. I think,
Yeah.
fear,
Yeah.
stigma. I guess the fear of being labelled, the fear of being judged as weak. Nobody wants to be constantly subjected to someone being negative and offloading and kind of not getting on with the job, or kind of not doing what they're there to do. But you have to be honest with people. People have to know. When quite often when I'm doing the face-to-face new staff inductions, I'll say to people, don't go home if you've had a bad day without doing something positive. If that's having a cup of tea with a colleague, if it's sharing what's happened and trying to find a solution for it. We do it as a senior management team. I do it with any other people I'm working with. Try not to end the day without feeling as though if you've had a tough day, sharing that with somebody. Don't take it home with you. By all means, talk to people at home about it if that's appropriate, but try and get some level of closure, or have a plan of how you're going to tackle it the next day or the day after. So I think there's that stigma, there's that fear of people are going to judge you. But yeah, though, for those reasons, it's still not always okay to be as honest as you'd like to be with those around you. And that's still part of the journey that we as a sector and we as a college have got to try to get to grips with. And there's that balance between, we've got a job to do, we're here for our students and we're here for our staff, but we're all human beings. We've all got feelings, we've all got backgrounds and challenges, we've all got stuff that's happening outside college, and we've got to be as supportive and as helpful to each other as we can, whilst recognising that it's still a day job to do. And that's a balance that sometimes, and particularly during the pandemic, has been really, really hard.
My next question is, why did you decide to become a principal?
Well, the short answer is I didn't.
Okay.
I will send this to Jill, and she will laugh, because she probably remembers some of this story. I didn't go to my careers teacher age 14 at Coleridge Community College in Cambridge, the secondary modern school that had only just turned to become a comprehensive school. So I was in the second comprehensive intake. So it was basically lots of teachers that hadn't worked with all abilities. They'd worked with kids that had basically failed the 11 plus. So I didn't sit the 11 plus, went to this comprehensive school, and I wanted to be a music teacher, but I realised that at the age of 12, music was my sanctuary. It was my safe place. I felt I belonged. I was pretty good at it. It was something that earned me respect amongst my peers. I enjoyed performing as part of an ensemble, not as a soloist. And I was in music, really enabled me to be a relatively big fish in a small pond. So there was a path. I had to do A levels, had to get to university, had to do a music degree, had to do a PGCE. So by hook or by crook, with a few failures along the way, I managed to get there. It took me a year longer than perhaps it should have done, but hey, so be it. I was more mature. It worked. Yeah. And then I got my first teaching job in a very, very tough school in north of Manchester, which I loved. Really, really disadvantaged area. Absolutely the school for me. And got my first head of departments job, aged 25, 26. So I was one of the youngest head of musics in the country, and that was kind of I'd realised my life's ambition. I want to be a head of music in a school, and it was a school where music, we transformed music. It was a school of 800. It was an upper school, so it's 14 to 19. So only GCSEs and A-levels, and we had nearly 200 kids out of the 800, young people, doing music at the school. So nearly a quarter of the school was studying music at the time in some way, shape or form, or involved in music. Got into all sorts of things, got into FAE colleges, got into HE. And gradually, having had that first middle management role very young, got my first senior manager's role when I was about 32-ish, something like that. And then kind of wanted to be part of something and build something, and that was kind of access to music. But then realised really there was more to life than kind of what I was doing and other opportunities. So I hate to say it, Jodie, but it was never part of the plan. I know people say of me, and maybe it is one of my blind spots, I don't think I'm that competitive. I don't think I'm that ambitious. But really, the ambition is not for me personally, which is why I don't think I am that competitive or ambitious. It's for the people I'm working with and the projects I'm involved in and the organisation I'm part of. So the best way to realize that ambition is to be the one that kind of the buck stops with me, and I make most decisions. So before we merged, kind of that was my role with our board. Very different now within Tech Partnership, but arguably better because I've got more people to bounce ideas off, and I can contribute more as well. So I never really wanted to be a principal or a head teacher. I did apply for those roles. I did kind of do all the qualifications and the training you need to do. I got the experience, I built the CV, I did all the things you need to be, but I wasn't ever particularly bothered about being a principal. I wanted to be part of a leadership team, but it was me being part of a team. Didn't necessarily want to be top dog, as it were. Here I am, at East Riding College, as doing that, and it just felt right. It just felt right, but it wasn't part of a grand plan. I mean, other people would say different. You were really ambitious. You really wanted to do that. But for me, it had to be the right time, the right job, in the right place, but above all with the right people and for the right reasons. But there was no grand plan. And the whole point of that little bit of what I've said is some people do have a linear, join the dots, very measured career plan. I didn't have that. I had lots of people encouraging me and coaching me. Coaching is really important, and mentoring and all that kind of stuff. I really believe in that. So I had lots of people encouraging me, supporting me, and really helping me. People I'm still in touch with that I've known for 20 odd years, and I wouldn't have done it without them. And that's the important thing. You need those people around you, and for some people there is that career plan. For me there wasn't, and that's kind of a very brief version. That wasn't a very brief answer, but a very brief version of how I've got to be where I am, and I'm grateful. It's a real privilege, it's a real honor. I wake up and pinch myself every day and think, yes, it's a big responsibility, yes, I'm accountable for a lot. I try to enjoy every day. I try to find at least one thing positive in every day. And usually at East Riding College, I'm struggling to find a negative thing every day. That's what this place is like. And, there are challenges, particularly at the moment, with the pandemic and how we're having to work and trying to keep things moving forward at the same pace. But it was never part of any grand plan. It was kind of, it happened, but it happened for the right reasons. So, but you have to be open to those ideas, and you have to be able to respond at the right time. And I didn't learn that until much later in my life.
And that's a really good, and like I said, and the reason I wanted to ask that question was because I knew you was going to give an answer very much like that. But it was obviously the idea behind the other podcast, the careers ones, is that a lot of our students, I think, look to us and think, oh well, they wanted to be there, they've got there because that's what they wanted to do. And it's great that you being, like you say, being the principal of the college, it's really great for the learners to hear that actually it wasn't a grand plan and it wasn't planned, but you just took an opportunity and it was the right opportunity for you. And that's the message that we want to get across is, take every opportunity, and it might really work out. So that's really great that obviously the learners can take that from you. So it'd be really nice for them to hear. So the end of the podcast, but I always ask the guest to give a top tip. So please could you give your top tip for supporting your own mental health for any of our students that are listening?
I think it's going to be a brief series of top tips, me being me. I think get into good self-care habits. So sleep, lots of water, healthy eating, alcohol in moderation if you drink at all, and try and avoid negative influences in your life and bad influences in your life. Always pause before you make big decisions. I think the one thing for me, I would say, it's that downtime. Give yourself enough time to recharge, reflect, think about the good things, think about the things you need to do better, keep it in perspective, and find people or a person that you trust and really get them to challenge you and listen to what they say, and if appropriate, follow their advice. But I think the one thing is create that downtime and that space to really genuinely practice healthy living and self-care. And it doesn't matter what age you are, what role you've got, we all need to do that. And if you do that, you then spot the danger signs if you're going to start to kind of hit that slippery slope of downward health or downward mental health.